There are seasons in life when it feels like nothing is moving. You pray, but heaven feels silent. You work hard, but doors stay closed. You stay faithful, but the results seem delayed. And in those moments, it's easy to assume that delay means denial. But delay is never wasted in the hands of God. Because what you don't see is that while you are waiting, God is working. While you are wondering, God is arranging. While you are praying for one door, God is preparing an entirely new one you never even considered. And here is the truth you need to hold on to today. What God is about to open will not just meet your expectations, it will amaze you. God does not operate on human timing or human limitation. When he opens a door, it is not ordinary access, it is divine opportunity. It is not just a change in circumstances, it is a shift in destiny. You may have faced closed doors that disappointed you, relationships that didn't work out, opportunities that slipped away, plans that fell apart. But what if those closed doors were not rejection, but protection? What if God was not saying no, but simply saying not that one, because I have something better? Because God never removes something from your life without intending to replace it with something aligned with his purpose. And when he opens a door, no human can shut it. No system can block it. No enemy can reverse it. What God opens carries his authority, his timing, and his blessing. There are moments when God allows you to come to the end of your own strength so you can finally see the beginning of his power. When your plan runs out, his plan begins. When your control ends, his provision shows up. You thought the delay was punishment, but it was preparation. God was not delaying your blessing, he was developing you for it. Because some doors don't open early, not because God is slow, but because you are not ready to walk through them yet. And God in his wisdom will never hand you a breakthrough that your character cannot sustain. But when the season changes, everything shifts at once. What was once blocked begins to open. What was once impossible begins to align. What was once confusing begins to make sense. And you will look back and realize that God was never absent. He was positioning you. There is a divine moment when heaven releases what has been stored up for you. And when that moment comes, it does not arrive quietly, it arrives with confirmation, alignment, and undeniable evidence that God has stepped in. So do not let present silence make you doubt future glory. Because what God is about to open will not only answer your prayer, it will exceed your imagination. It will not just restore what was lost, it will reveal what was always intended. And when it happens, you will not be able to say, I figured this out. You will only be able to say, only God could have done this. So stay faithful in the waiting. Stay steady in the process. Stay expectant in the delay. Because the door is not just coming, it is being prepared. And when it opens, it will amaze you. There are moments in life when silence feels louder than disappointment. You pray and nothing changes. You hope and nothing moves. You expect and nothing opens. And in those seasons, the human mind begins to interpret delay as rejection. But one of the deepest truths you can learn in your walk with God is that delay is not denial. And closed doors are not the end of the story. What feels like a pause is often a process. What feels like inactivity is often divine activity happening out of sight. Because God does not operate like human systems that respond instantly to effort or pressure. He works according to wisdom, timing, and purpose. And purpose always takes precedence over pressure. Just because something has not opened yet does not mean it will never open. It may simply mean it is not ready, or you are not ready, or both are being prepared in ways you cannot yet see. There is a tendency in human thinking to assume that every closed door is a sign of failure, but in divine terms, a closed door can be protection from exposure, harm, distraction, or distraction disguised as opportunity. Some doors are closed not because you are unworthy, but because God is preserving you from stepping into something that looks right, but is not aligned with your assignment. If every opportunity opened immediately, you would not have the discernment to distinguish between what is good and what is God's best. And while you are waiting, something important is happening internally. Character is being shaped. Patience is being formed. Faith is being stretched. Because the blessing you are asking for is not just about arrival, it is about sustainability. God is not only concerned with giving you something, he is concerned with whether you can carry it without losing yourself in the process. So sometimes he delays the opportunity to develop the maturity needed to handle it. There are also moments when God closes doors to redirect your attention. You may have been focused on a path that seemed promising but was not aligned with your long-term purpose. And because you could not see the full picture, God intervened by shutting what you were trying to open. At the time, it feels like loss, but later it reveals itself as guidance. What you thought was a setback was actually divine steering. The truth is, God's delays are never empty. They are filled with preparation, alignment, and unseen movement. While you are waiting for something to change externally, God may be changing things internally within you. Your perspective is being refined. Your dependence is being shifted from circumstances to trust. Your understanding of timing is being expanded beyond urgency into wisdom. And often the most significant breakthroughs come after seasons where nothing seemed to happen. Because in those quiet seasons, foundations are being laid that will support what is coming next. A door that opens too early can collapse under pressure, but a door that opens at the right time carries strength, stability, and sustainability. So when you find yourself standing in front of what feels like repeated closed doors, it is important to resist the conclusion that nothing is happening. Something is happening, but it is happening in a dimension you cannot measure yet. God is orchestrating connections, aligning circumstances, and preparing openings that will not just respond to your request, but exceed your expectation. And one day, when you look back, you will not see wasted time. You will see wisdom in timing. You will see protection in delay. You will see purpose behind every closed door that once frustrated you. There are moments when a closed door feels like rejection, but what if it is actually protection in disguise? In human thinking, access is always interpreted as progress. If something opens, it is considered good. If something closes, it is considered loss. But divine wisdom operates on a different level. Not every open door is a blessing, and not every closed door is a setback. Some of the most important interventions in your life come in the form of God saying no to what you desperately wanted. At the time, it rarely feels comforting. You may feel overlooked, disappointed, or even confused. You may question why something that seemed so right, so promising, or so perfect was taken away or never allowed to develop. But what you cannot yet see is that God sees beyond the moment. He sees the outcome before the opportunity. He sees the destination before the decision. And because of that, he is not only concerned with where you want to go, but also with what would happen if you actually went there. Some doors are closed because what lies behind them carries consequences you are not prepared to carry. There are opportunities that look like elevation, but are actually entrapment. There are relationships that feel like destiny, but are actually distraction. There are positions that look like promotion, but would drain your purpose. And in his mercy, God intervenes not by explaining everything, but by preventing access. This is where trust becomes essential. Because when you cannot understand the why, you are forced to rely on the who. And the question shifts from why did this not happen to do I trust the one who allowed it not to happen? That shift is not always easy because it requires you to surrender the need for control and accept the reality that God's wisdom exceeds your understanding. A closed door is often God's way of shielding you from unnecessary pain. There are paths that would have cost you more than you were willing to pay emotionally, spiritually, mentally, or even relationally. At first, it feels like loss, but over time you begin to realize it was preservation. What you thought you needed would have actually broken you in ways you could not recover from easily. And so God, in his protection, closes what you are trying to force open. There are also seasons where God protects your timing. You may desire something good, but the timing is wrong. And when timing is wrong, even good things can produce painful outcomes. A blessing out of season can become a burden. A relationship out of alignment can become confusion. An opportunity too early can become collapse. So God in his wisdom delays access not because he is withholding goodness, but because he is protecting your readiness. And sometimes the protection is not only from what is outside, but also from what is inside. God knows how quickly human hearts can become attached to things that were never meant to define them. He knows how easily identity can become tied to positions, people, or outcomes. So he allows certain doors to remain closed so that your identity is not built on fragile foundations. What feels like rejection is often redirection. God is not simply stopping you, he is steering you. He is guiding you away from paths that would lead to regret and toward paths that will produce growth, stability, and purpose. And while the detour may feel longer, it is actually safer and more aligned with your destiny. Over time, when perspective matures, you begin to see that some of the greatest blessings in your life were not the doors that opened, but the ones that stayed closed. Because those closed doors forced you to trust, to grow, and to depend on wisdom beyond your own. And in that process, you were not just being protected from something, you were being prepared for something greater. One of the hardest lessons to accept in life is that timing matters just as much as desire. You can want something deeply, pray for it sincerely, and even prepare for it diligently. But if the timing is not aligned, it will not manifest the way you expect. This is where many people struggle, because human desire is immediate, but divine wisdom is intentional. What you call delay is often not absence, it is alignment happening. Behind the scenes, God does not operate under pressure, urgency, or human impatience. He operates in perfect timing, where every detail is coordinated for the right outcome. And while you may only see a small portion of your life in the present moment, he sees the entire picture from beginning to end. That means what feels like waiting is actually preparation for alignment that you cannot yet perceive. When God controls the timing, he is not only concerned with what happens, but when it happens. Because the when can determine whether something becomes a blessing or a burden. The same opportunity can produce completely different outcomes depending on timing. If it arrives too early, it can overwhelm you. If it arrives too late, it can miss its purpose. But when it arrives in God's timing, it carries strength, stability, and clarity. There are seasons where you may feel ready, but readiness is not only about how you feel. It is about whether every external and internal condition has been prepared. You may feel emotionally ready for a relationship, but the right person may not yet be in position. You may feel ready for a new opportunity, but the environment around you may not yet be aligned. God, in his wisdom, synchronizes all of these elements so that when the door opens, it is not chaotic, it is cohesive. One of the reasons timing is so important is because it protects you from premature outcomes. When things happen too early, before you are equipped to handle them, they can create instability. What you prayed for can become overwhelming if your foundation is not strong enough to sustain it. That is why divine timing is not just about granting desires, it is about building capacity. God's timing also ensures that what he brings into your life will not be easily lost. When something is aligned with divine timing, it is supported by preparation, people, circumstances, and wisdom that all converge at the right moment. It does not rely on luck or chance. It is structured, intentional, and stable. This is why some doors open suddenly, but in reality, they have been in preparation for a long time. There is also a deeper aspect to timing that involves transformation. While you are waiting, you are not stagnant. You are being shaped. Your mindset is being refined. Your emotional strength is being developed. Your perspective is being expanded. Because the person who enters the open door must be able to sustain what is behind it. God is not just preparing the opportunity, he is preparing you for the opportunity. Sometimes what feels like delay is actually divine synchronization. God is aligning people, places, and moments so that when the door opens, everything fits together perfectly. You may not see the movement, but behind the scenes, connections are being arranged, circumstances are being positioned, and paths are being adjusted. And when the right time arrives, it often feels effortless. What once seemed blocked suddenly flows. What once felt distant suddenly becomes accessible. What once seemed impossible suddenly aligns. Not because circumstances change randomly, but because timing finally matched purpose. Looking back, you often realize that if it had happened earlier, it would not have worked. And if it had happened later, it would not have mattered. But because it happened at the right time, it carried meaning, stability, and lasting impact. This is why trusting timing is not passive waiting, it is active faith in the wisdom behind the delay. So even when you do not understand the pace of your journey, there is assurance in knowing that nothing is laid in the hands of God. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it does not feel like it. One of the most difficult yet transformative truths in life is that breakthrough rarely arrives at the beginning of a journey, it arrives after formation. People often focus on the result, the open door, the answered prayer, the visible change. But what is often overlooked is the process that precedes it. Before something is given, something is developed. Before promotion comes, preparation is required. Before expansion, there is stretching. And that stretching is not comfortable, but it is necessary. There is a divine pattern that often goes unnoticed. Preparation always precedes manifestation. What looks like delay is often development. What feels like silence is often shaping. What feels like restriction is often refinement. Because God is not only interested in where you are going, but also in who you are becoming on the way there. If a door were to open without preparation, it would not produce stability, it would produce struggle. Many people pray for elevation without realizing that elevation requires emotional strength, spiritual maturity, and mental stability. Without those foundations, what was meant to bless you can overwhelm you. So instead of rushing the outcome, divine wisdom focuses on strengthening the foundation. Preparation is often uncomfortable because it exposes areas that still need growth. It reveals weaknesses you did not notice before. It challenges assumptions you thought were stable. It stretches patience, tests consistency, and refines character. But none of this is wasted. Every delay is a classroom. Every challenge is a lesson. Every closed door is an opportunity for internal development. There are times when you feel ready, but readiness is not only about confidence. It is about capacity. You may feel emotionally prepared for a new season, but emotional readiness is only one part of the equation. You also need wisdom, discipline, discernment, and resilience. And those qualities are not developed instantly, they are built through experience, reflection, and time. God often uses the waiting season as a training ground. In that season, you learn how to trust without visible evidence. You learn how to remain steady when things are uncertain. You learn how to hold on to faith when results are not immediate. These lessons are not theoretical, they are experiential. And they shape you in ways that success alone never could. Preparation also protects you from premature exposure. There are levels of opportunity that require strength beyond natural ability. If you enter them too early, they can overwhelm your emotional and spiritual balance. That is why God sometimes delays access, not to deny you, but to develop you. Because what you cannot sustain will eventually collapse under pressure. Another important aspect of preparation is alignment. Before something opens externally, something must align internally. Your mindset must be ready. Your priorities must be clear. Your values must be stable. Without alignment, even good opportunities can lead to confusion. So God works internally before he works externally, ensuring that when the door opens, you are not just present, you are prepared. Preparation also refines intention. It reveals why you want what you want. It separates desire from purpose. It challenges motives and purifies direction. Because not every desire is rooted in purpose, and not every ambition is aligned with destiny. Through the process, clarity begins to replace confusion, and purpose begins to shape desire. There is also a strengthening that takes place in hidden seasons. While nothing seems to be happening externally, internal growth is occurring. You become more patient without realizing it. You become more resilient without noticing it. You become more discerning without consciously trying. These subtle changes are the foundation for future stability. And when the moment finally comes, when the door opens, you realize that nothing about the process was wasted. Every delay contributed to your readiness. Every challenge contributed to your strength. Every waiting season contributed to your depth. What once felt like delay now looks like design. Because breakthrough without preparation is fragile, but breakthrough after preparation is sustainable. It does not collapse under pressure. It does not fade under difficulty. It stands firm because it was built on a foundation of process, not impulse. So when you reflect on the journey, you begin to understand that God was not holding you back. He was building you up. And what is coming next is not just an opportunity, it is the result of everything you have been through, shaped into readiness for what is about to be revealed. One of the most profound realities in life is that not everything that is open is meant for you, and not everything that is closed is against you. There is a deeper level of understanding that goes beyond desire and disappointment, where you begin to recognize that outcomes are not random, they are governed by purpose. And purpose does not always feel comfortable in the moment it is unfolding. When something opens, the natural response is excitement. It feels like progress, like confirmation, like success. But not every open door carries alignment. Some doors open simply because opportunity exists, not because destiny is involved. And that is where discernment becomes essential. Because what looks like advancement can sometimes lead to distraction if it is not aligned with your path. God's involvement in your life is not limited to what he gives you. It also includes what he prevents you from entering. Protection is often misunderstood because it does not announce itself. It does not come with celebration or visible proof. It often comes in the form of something not happening, something not working, something not progressing. And in the moment, it feels like loss. But in reality, it is direction. When God closes a door, it is not random. It is intentional guidance away from something that may have looked beneficial, but would not have contributed to your long-term purpose. There are paths that offer short-term satisfaction, but long-term confusion. There are opportunities that provide temporary excitement, but lasting instability. And without divine guidance, it is easy to be drawn toward what is visible rather than what is valuable. One of the greatest challenges is understanding that clarity does not always come before direction. Sometimes you only understand why something was closed after time has passed. In the moment, you may question it. You may even resist it. But later, reflection reveals that what felt like rejection was actually redirection towards something better aligned with your journey. There is also a deeper principle at work. Alignment matters more than access. Just because you can enter something does not mean you should. Access without alignment leads to imbalance. It creates environments where you are present physically but disconnected purposefully. And over time, that disconnection becomes visible in stress, confusion, or dissatisfaction. God's guidance often operates through restriction, not limitation in the negative sense, but protection in the wise sense. He restricts certain paths not to limit your potential, but to preserve your direction, because he knows that not every good opportunity is part of your assignment. Some opportunities are distractions disguised as progress. There are also moments when closed doors protect your identity. It is easy to attach self-worth to outcomes, positions, or opportunities. But when God closes certain doors, he is often protecting you from building identity on something unstable. He is reminding you that your value is not defined by access, but by purpose. As time passes, patterns begin to emerge. You start to see that what was removed from your life created space for something better aligned. What was delayed allowed for better preparation. What was denied prevented unnecessary struggle. And slowly, perspective shifts from frustration to understanding. There is also wisdom in realizing that some environments would have shaped you in ways that were not beneficial. Influence is powerful. Surroundings shape thinking. Access shapes behavior. And without realizing it, being in the wrong environment can slowly redirect your focus away from your purpose. So when God closes a door, he is not just stopping access, he is protecting influence. And eventually you begin to recognize that protection is not always visible in the moment, but it is always revealed in hindsight. What you thought was loss becomes evidence of wisdom. What you thought was rejection becomes proof of care. And what you thought was absence becomes confirmation of guidance. So the closed doors in your life are not signs of abandonment. They are signs of direction. They are reminders that not everything available is meant for you. And that divine guidance often shows up in the things that do not happen as much as in the things that do. There are seasons in life when everything feels like it is on pause, but within that pause, something deeper is forming. What looks like waiting is often preparation beyond your awareness. While you are focused on what is not yet happen, God is focused on what must happen within you first. Because before any external breakthrough can be sustained, there must be internal transformation strong enough to carry it. One of the greatest misunderstandings in life is assuming that visible progress is the only form of progress. But some of the most important development happens in silence, in obscurity, and in waiting seasons where nothing appears to change on the surface. In those moments, patience is being strengthened, perspective is being reshaped, and faith is being refined. These are not passive experiences, they are active formation. God does not only prepare outcomes, He prepares people. Because the same blessing placed in different hands can produce completely different results. Without preparation, success can become overwhelming. Without maturity, opportunity can become destructive. Without stability, elevation can become instability. So the delay you feel is often not about the opportunity, it is about you. Capacity to handle it. There are times when life slows down, not because something is wrong, but because something is being built. Character is not formed in moments of comfort, it is shaped in moments of pressure. When things do not move as quickly as expected, it forces reflection, it forces growth, it forces dependence on something deeper than immediate results. And that dependence becomes the foundation for future stability. In the waiting season, God often develops strength that cannot be learned in success. Success can reveal ability, but waiting reveals endurance. Success can show talent, but waiting builds discipline. Success can bring visibility, but waiting builds depth. And depth is what sustains long-term impact. Without it, rapid elevation often leads to collapse. There is also a refining that takes place in your thinking. The waiting season challenges assumptions, reshapes expectations, and redefines priorities. What once felt urgent begins to lose its control over you. What once felt like failure begins to look like timing. What once felt like delay begins to reveal purpose. This shift in perspective is not accidental, it is formation. At the same time, emotional strength is being developed. Life has a way of exposing emotional weaknesses when things do not move as expected. Impatience surfaces, doubt surfaces, frustration surfaces. But instead of being signs of failure, these are opportunities for growth. Each emotional challenge becomes a moment where resilience is built slowly and steadily. And while all of this is happening internally, something else is happening externally that you cannot yet see. Circumstances are being aligned. People are being positioned. Opportunities are being prepared. Connections are being arranged. What feels like inactivity is actually coordination. What feels like delay is actually synchronization. Because when God moves, He does not move in isolation, He moves in alignment. One of the most powerful truths about preparation is that it often feels ordinary while it is happening. There is no announcement, no visible change, no immediate reward. But over time, the results become undeniable. You begin to realize that you are not reacting the same way you used to. You are not discouraged the same way you used to be. You are not overwhelmed the same way you used to be. That is evidence of transformation. Eventually, what once felt like waiting becomes recognized as building. You see that nothing was wasted. Every quiet moment had purpose. Every delay had intention. Every pause had meaning. And when the next season arrives, you realize that you were not standing still, you were being prepared. Because what is coming next requires more than desire. It requires strength, clarity, patience, and wisdom. And those qualities are not given instantly, they are developed slowly in seasons that feel uneventful but are deeply transformative. There comes a moment in every journey when everything suddenly shifts. Without warning, what once felt stuck begins to move. What once felt delayed begins to unfold. What once felt impossible begins to align in ways you could not orchestrate on your own. And in that moment, it becomes clear that something beyond human effort has stepped in. When God opens a door, it does not operate like human opportunity. Human opportunities often come with uncertainty, negotiation, and instability. But divine openings carry a different weight. They come with clarity, alignment, and confirmation that what is happening is not random, it is intentional. There is a sense that circumstances are not just working together, they are being arranged. One of the most remarkable things about a God-opened door is that it carries timing that cannot be replicated. It arrives exactly when preparation meets purpose. Not earlier, not later, but precisely when everything inside and outside aligns. And because of that alignment, it often feels effortless in hindsight, even though the journey leading up to it required patience, endurance, and trust. When that door opens, it is rarely just one thing changing. It is a chain reaction. Situations that were once blocked begin to resolve. Relationships that were once distant begin to reconnect or reposition. Opportunities that were once unavailable suddenly become accessible. And what once felt like fragmentation begins to form coherence. There is also a peace that accompanies divine openings. Even when the situation is new or unfamiliar, there is an internal confirmation that this is right. Not because everything is predictable, but because everything feels aligned. Confusion begins to fade. Anxiety loses its grip. And clarity.
Everything I used to live for faded slowly out of sight. Now my days just circle around you like I'm lost without a light.
All the noise just turns to silence when your memory comes through. And the world I once was chasing now feels small and shaped like you. My whole world is only you. Every thought keeps breaking through. You're so close inside my mind, but so far in real life.
I can feel you everywhere, in the things we never shared. All this love I'm going through
never reaches you. Every image feels so real now, like you're standing next to me. But the truth is in the silence, you were never meant to see. My whole world is only you. Every thought keeps breaking through. You're so close inside my mind, but so far in real life. I can feel you everywhere, in the things we never shared. All this love I'm going through never reaches you. If you felt it for a moment, would it change the way you stay?
Or would I still be the shadow that just fades away?
My whole world is only you, all is only you. But your world's a different view. I'm just some